Alright, hey guys, this is Bezmor, and I've got another group PvP video for you. This time it's pretty intense. We had about 10 or 11, I think at the end of it we had 11 or 12 people total, and we were fighting a pretty good number of other PvPers. And for once, the miracle was we actually had 2 BMs. I mean, that's like 200% more than we usually do. But anyways, I thought I'd post it and commentate for you guys some of what was going on here. And unlike my last video, if you watched it, this time I had my T menu set up correctly. And so my job as a DD is pretty much to kill certain things. That is Venos, because they purge, Archers, because they can purge, and also they're really annoying if you just ignore them. But you'll see here, I T-menu straight to the Vino and get up in the air because, like, I'm not gonna wait to kill the Vino. And you can see the BM followed up right away. He was pretty much on top of the Vino as well. And the second Psy was also on there. And so you can see our focus is pretty much, well, let's get rid of the Purge and then stay alive because we have BM, Barb, and Cleric in squad, at least for this round. Which means that we're gonna be really strong if we don't get purged. To say the least. So we're focusing on the Vino, and they're blowing their cooldowns, which we're getting, but unfortunately that means they're not dying. So at this point, some people on our team are just getting madly focused, and basically everybody on the other side was like, kill the Mystic at all costs. Like, they just kept tunnel visioning on the Mystic every fight. It was kind of ridiculous. But here, I'm still on the Vino. I put Diminished Vigor on because I knew unless we got a Purge, it wasn't going to be a quick kill, and unfortunately I lagged. I was too slow on the AD. I should have popped it a couple seconds sooner. But anyways, sorry, I totally spaced on what I was saying there. But I went back to black because, as you can see, nobody's really bothering me, and I asked my BM to bell me, and he did right there. So I'm safe on PDEF for the most part, especially because I have two things. I have the Nation War Pot, and I have Ink Dragon on right now, it looks like. So I'm pretty, I'm not really worried about getting Insta-Wrecked or anything like that. And here, we burned all the cooldowns, and then our BM went straight in, Dragon Rise, guaranteed kill on the Vino, and a little bit of trash talk apparently. And then here, I'm going to Cleric, and I called an assist, and I noticed that they AD'd into IG, so I just went in vent and I said, hey, they've got nothing left, get ready for the kill. And normally I would look for something else to target, but I was like, a Cleric is just going to be annoying if you don't deal with it. Like, that one Purify that saves them, or that one, heal that, like, prevents their, or gets them to another Charm Tick, or, whatever it is. So here, again, the Vino rezzed, and it's like, no, you don't get to do that. So we killed them, of course. I mean, we're in the process of killing them. And as you can see, I actually got purified and rebuffed. So now I'm fully in offense mode, and T-menu, find the other Vino. And we know certain targets are squishier than others, so it's like, yeah, just pop those ones really quick, and then continue to do your job. And as you can see, all three of our assassins were helping me at that point, which was really nice. This is the advantage of being in vent, is that the assassins are like, yeah, whatever the psychic's targeting, that'll work. And here, I was going to kill the Archer, but he IG'd, so temporarily I switched to the Sin with the intent of coming back to the Archer later, and I threw the AoE there, even though I knew he had title, and I threw it actually to grab the BM that was next to him, because I was like, if I can temporarily CC these people, and I don't need my Chi right now. As you can see, nobody's bothering me until this very moment. Of course, as soon as I say it, a Barb comes over and deals with me, and unfortunately he made me target him, so like, I couldn't really do anything for a few seconds here. But the point is, I got on the Sin temporarily, and then now this Archer, who I just knew, he blew his APOT, so I called him in vent again, and I was like, hey, he's got nothing left. And there, we get the kill, and immediately, I'm getting CC'd a little bit here, but nobody's putting pressure on me, so I'm staying in black, and I'm just gonna find a new target and tab around a bit, and I noticed that there's a lot of heavy armors left, so I was like, well, let's hit one that does damage, because I know some of their barbs, like, a lot of their barbs are literally just CCing, and their BMs are doing a lot of the same. I know for sure two or three of them that literally spend their whole time just CCing. So here it's like, okay, well, since we got all the squishies, let's take out the DOT Sin, which we did very effectively. And then I think at this point I made the call in vent to say, hey guys, we've killed everything, pick the squishiest heavy armor target and blow it away. And then somebody called for help with the back, and I was like, alright, that's what you do. So that Archer is glitched on my screen. I apologize for that. But anyways, here I got in and just started dropping the AoEs to try and put some damage out. And since it's heavy armors and they are fully buffed, it's kind of like, well, this is going to take a second, but we'll get it eventually. And the one disadvantage that our whole team comp has is we had one Archer, 0 Venos, and 1 barb, which means we have a clean sweep every once in a while, maybe some random purge procs on weapons, but other than that, we really had no purge, so we had to just blast our way through heavy armors with buffs, which, when you have 4 assassins, I think we had 4 assassins total, and 2 psychics, that's not exactly a problem. Like, we output a ton of damage, and since at this point in the fight we have taken care of all the priority targets, I guess you could say, it was just a matter of cleaning up these heavy armors. And here, every once in a while you'll see a squishy like the clerics and the Venos come back out and somebody just tab pops them and then go back to killing the heavies. So anyways, the first round was pretty smooth considering. I think there was some rounds earlier in the day where we were totally outnumbered and just getting wrecked. Like, there was so many more and we had like less than a full squad, and then the event happened and so everybody went and did the event. That was the Wraith Hunter event, by the way, the free beat S packs if you did it. And then we came back to PK after, and so this is kind of the after event PK, I think is what it was. And we cleaned the first round up pretty well, and then I believe the second round should start momentarily. But as you can see, our squad did pretty decently. There were some deaths, obviously. I mean, they tunneled on the Mystic so hard it was kind of ridiculous. But for the most part, all our DDs and our Sins in particular managed to stay up and just crush people really fast. So I think they had something like 3 clerics and 2 Venos, and at one point they had 4 different archers, and we just basically outplayed them. Our DDs were staying alive longer, and then theirs were dropping. So in this squad, in this round we lost our cleric, which didn't turn out to be too much of a problem. But again, it pretty much starts out the exact same way. I'm going on the Vino. I've got one of the Sins assisting on me. They got a couple more people this round, so our other 2, like out of our 4 Sins, I think I was just me and the one who were on the Vino at the start. And here, I didn't quite want to all engage in the air. I wanted to drag them down to the ground because I knew if the Vino was on the ground, our BMs would just run up, paralyze, and they'd get wrecked. But she wasn't kind of going to the ground, so I put on DV just so I could do that, and then I blew my AD here so I wouldn't lose my buffs, especially considering we don't have a cleric to rebuff. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to bring her down to the ground, hopefully get some more targets hitting her than just me and the one Sin. Now, unfortunately, she didn't quite follow. Well, she was getting stunned, so it's not entirely her fault, but I got the Monkey King to follow me at least. So anyways, I decided, alright, fine, I'll go back up and just keep assisting because 2 people's damage is going to be enough to kill them despite the buffs, as long as we get a chance, especially with diminished vigor. But then I realized that the monkey was being annoying, so I decided, and the wizard sealed me there, which is additionally extra annoying. But then as you can see, the Sin's covering me. He just like pops the wizard. So here I was like, fine, I'm gonna get rid of the monkey so that I can be fully available to help DPS on the Vino, and my Sin is still just doing work on the Vino. So here, finally dealt with the monkey back on the Vinomancer, and I believe she's gonna die here. Sorry, I just read the normal chat for the first time. Yeah, that's funny. But anyway, so Vino down, immediately tab to an archer because it's like, screw your purge, bro. And he, I believe, expelled, which means good luck surviving a psychic hitting you, brah. But at this point, T-menu, straight to a cleric, like, I don't want all this rebuff and heal and stuff happening. And as you can see, the Sin has been on my targets pretty much from the start, which is great. Like when you have the Tideborn combo, the magic DPS of a Psy plus a Sin, and they're both pretty much free range just unloading on single targets, oh, people just get wrecked. So anyways here, my Sin died. I'm very sad about that, but I had a well-timed expel, or so I thought, but apparently not so well-timed. So anyways, this is the first time you'll notice in like the 2 rounds that somebody actually tried to hit me, and it lasted for all of 10 seconds, maybe less, and then they just went away, and I was like, okay. So here I was like, maybe I'll hit the Sin. Somebody called the Sin in vent, so I was like, alright, I'll assist on the Sin. And then I noticed that he was just running, so, well, in a second here I noticed he was just going to be running around, and I was like, this guy has anti-stun on and he's probably got his title up, I just don't want to bother with that. So I started looking for new targets, and again it was kind of like, oh look, heavy armor's everywhere, and then I saw the archer, so I immediately called the archer, and again, there's tons of people assisting, and the nice thing is, what you'll notice that the other side is doing is a lot of their heavy armors are grouping in one area and just fighting this huge CC battle against a whole bunch of our heavy armors, as opposed to splitting up into smaller groups and like focusing down targets, which is what we're sort of doing. Like me and the Sin, or me and the two Sins, or me and the other Psychic and a Sin, or something like that. We're all just picking off targets, and our heavy armors are doing a mix of peeling and focusing. And so the problem was when the other side was grouped up so much, a ton of their people ended up getting CC'd by one of our people. Granted, our one guy was getting CC'd a lot as well, but the problem is if you group up, you're just asking to get AoE'd. And there's a few times where we got some nice AoE in, but for the most part, I think our split, I mean, it's, if you want to end a fight fast, just group up your entire enemy and then try to AoE them, but the problem is that that really is risky because you get AoE'd as much as you AoE in general. So I'm sticking with the idea of, pick priority targets and stick to them as hard as you can, and then once you've cleared them, you make the game-winning play of, try to blast them out. So as you can see, again, the Sin is pretty much the last thing on our priority list, and at this point, they called to an HF, and so I was just like, time to AoE, and we got some nice hits in there, 24k on a barb, I like it. But it looks like this is kind of the end of the fight. It's winding down because you can see, heavy armor's everywhere. And then I called an assist because I saw the cleric come back out, and immediately I got a Sin helping me out, and they popped their APOT, so it's like, what are you going to do? But I'm just sticking with it. And one thing that I've noticed is I have a lot of chi in these situations where I'm not getting focused at all. Like when nobody focuses me, I have an overabundance of chi. And I think the reason for that is I press my 2 key by default all the time. Like it doesn't matter what's happening. If my AoEs are on cooldown, I press 2. And so that extra guaranteed 15 chi that you get per use generally tops you off a lot. And so even if you're just white voodoo tanking, if you're low on chi, just start spamming Spirit Blast a lot. It will fill you up. And if you're always full like me, and you feel like you're not doing enough damage, I would recommend 2 Spark. It came to my brain like a few months back, and it's towards the beginning of the year. I was like, I've been using Tide Spirit because I used to want the insta channel on my Sandball Clash to get a quick silence attempt. But nowadays, my stun duration is so much longer than it used to be because I finished plus 12ing most of my gear, that I don't have a need for time or channeling time even as much as I just need raw damage, because I'm not like 105 3 times over or anything like that. So if you're in a similar situation where you just need damage and time's not your thing, or it's a situation like this where people are just ignoring you, I would highly recommend 2 Sparking, because when I use my Tide Spirit, my magic attack goes to like 56k maybe. I think even with buffs, it's like high 50s. And it costs 2 sparks. Whereas if I use the 2 Spark Burst Plus, my magic attack goes to like 70k, which means I hit a heck of a lot harder. So that's just something that you can keep in mind. There's situations where you want one or the other. Anytime you want to use Sandball Clash, or you desperately need to re-CC somebody in a hurry, you want a fast vector, you want to use your Tide Spirit. But if you're just looking for damage off of a stun or something like that, then I would highly recommend Spark Burst Plus. It's the same chi cost, it's a very fast thing too, so it's not bad. And here, we were at the heavy armor cleanup stage, and they were all grouped up in one spot, and I just started calling AoE my target, AoE my target, AoE my target. As you can see, both the Psychics are there, the Sins just TP into the middle of the damage and are like sub-C, and they pretty much, all the heavy armors dropped there. Like we dropped 2 full plus 12 Vit bar BMs right then and there, and then it's just clean up, and that's pretty much the end of the round. So anyways, it was pretty clean fighting, especially considering we didn't have a cleric this time, so anybody who lost their cleric buffs was like, sorry, you're not getting them back. And then we still had Barb and BM, which was nice, but overall, I think Karma did a pretty good job considering our only support was the one Mystic who everybody was trying to kill. So yeah, it was pretty decent. And again, as you can see, it's just our Tideborn presence is really strong. Like when you got 4 assassins and every one of them hits like a truck, what are you supposed to do against that? I mean, you have to have like a bunch of heavy armors to handle it, and they do, but their heavy armors, for some reason, in one round, the heavy armors were targeting our Barb, which is just kind of like, huh? And then in the latter rounds, one of our BMs was pretty much just kind of sitting in the middle of their heavy armors, perma just stunning at like every cooldown. He's just throwing out AoEs and CCs and things like that. So it really gave us an advantage and freed up our DDs to do a lot. A lot of times people misplay the situations, I would say. Like I said, the other BMs, they group up and they try to focus down targets, but if they pick the wrong target, then they're pretty much just kind of sitting there wasting time. So it's really all about comboing the right things together. For example, comboing 1 or 2 DDs with 1 BM is as strong of an offense as you're ever going to get. Or a Sin, a Magic DD, and a BM. That combo will eliminate anything in the game in a matter of charm ticks, just because the CC from the BM combined with the Sin and Magic damage is just unstoppable. So anyways, if you micro group into like DD clusters or something like that, you're pretty much guaranteed to wreck stuff, and then avoid grouping up. And then the other thing you can do is if you're playing a BM and you don't have chi or anything like that, you can just peel off your DDs who can do damage or get purify procs or something like that, because we don't need your HF as much as we need the BMs and barbs off of us so that we can actually put out our damage. And we really appreciate when you guys do that. And rebuffing. We really like that one. But anyways, we're getting into the next round here, and as you can see, I kind of opened on the Vino again, and then I heard a call in vent. He's like, I'm HFing, or he's like AoE, something like that. So I went and that's why I tabbed to the BM for a second and hit, but it looked like not many people other than me were hitting. So then I went back to the Vino, and the Vino went into the AoE. Smart move there, brah. But I was pretty much just following the Vino, and then again, this is the exact same story every time. It's just focus down those targets, and I have to commend all the people on our side. Our DDs were doing a pretty good job of coordinating. There was a few times where it was like, dang it, I wish I had somebody helping me. But I finally got purged by a barb, which was like, lame. But, as you can see, it's 1 barb, and I'm not really in too much danger, because this particular barb is not exactly doing too much damage. I got my white voodoo up, I got my stunning up, and it's just kind of like, I've got people here to protect me right now. So I just immediately went back to targeting people, found the Vino's dead, and then I was like, well, nobody's bothering me, time to go black and do something. So I ran around to the other side because I was looking for a DD and I needed to change who I was tapping. And then I heard an assist called, which is why I'm kind of going back and forth stupidly. I mean, you just have to adapt to the situations here. But then I wanted the Sin, because I was like, that's the only person that like does damage to our squishier targets. That's just gonna hopefully not get insta dropped. And here we did mess up pretty hard, because we're just like group up on the heavies and then wipe them. And here it would have been nice if that guy hadn't IG'd, but he did. So bummer. But as you can see, like, everybody in our group was pretty much clustered in that one spot, so I backed off, and you notice all 3 of our psychics are just kind of like hanging back, like, yeah, we're not going to stand in there, but we'll throw a lot of AoEs at you. And this is a positioning thing, and I think I mentioned it in a previous video, you just always want to be aware of where you are and where the bad stuff is, so that you don't get caught in it, And this round was really fast. I think it was because we had a Sin and our Archer were pretty much sitting in the air just taking out their clerics constantly. So it was pretty much just pick off a couple priorities on the ground and then wreck the heavies again. And I believe we are getting near the end. Yes? Yeah, so I mean, overall, there was some good PK, especially on Karma's side, and I wanted to share it with you guys. If you've got any comments or questions, leave them below, and I'll see you guys next time.